So today's show, we have the lovely Sunita Passi. Sunita has got a whole load of credentials behind her. She is the founder of the Sunita Passi Wellness Centre. She's an Ayurvedic practitioner, and she's the founder of Tridosha Skincare. So welcome to the show, Sunita.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here today.
Wonderful. So I'm just wondering where we start, really, because this wasn't always your life, was it? You had a life before you got into the world of skincare and so on. So actually, where do you want to start? Should we start, from little and work up, or should we start from where you are now and work backwards? Over to you.
Well, I mean, I can give you a nutshell of how I moved into the world of wellness, which is our world, and helping people with the positive experiences. But my life was quite different, and my first career was as a journalist. And I was a good Indian student. I studied hard, and then I did a master's in investigative journalism, and then went into the world of journalism. And one of my sort of core career in that area was with a news agency, and I was actually writing business reports for this news agency, and I was used to a life of international travel. So it was the challenge of the role which I really thrived on. Every 4 months I would change country. So you can imagine that was, when you're young, your late 20s, early 30s, it's so much fun. It's such growth that comes from having a job like that. And because I was writing about business, I'd spend a lot of time with entrepreneurs who created businesses. They were all big businesses, so it was corporate business. And then I was also interviewing people in MPs and a few prime ministers as well. So they were very dynamic interviews, charismatic people, and it was always a pleasure to be around everyone. And on the outside, I guess, I was enjoying all the trimmings that come with that sort of life. So the food and the culture and all the benefits that come with traveling. But what I really found was my health started to become affected. I love my work, and I throw myself into it, and I started to feel that I was getting burnt out. I wasn't managing myself very well, and I'd also been containing stresses and tensions for as long as I could remember. So, things that I hadn't dealt with in my childhood, that had spilled out over into my teenage years. So physically and emotionally, I started to realize that this was all catching up with me. So in a nutshell, I actually, I said to my company, I was ready to come back to the UK, and I said to them, I'll do one more project, but I'd really love it if you could send me to India. I knew my body was quite weak at this point. I'd brought the yoga in and I was starting to practice mindfulness, but I knew that there was more to understanding how I could look after myself better. They agreed, so I did complete a project for them in India, and it was actually while I was in India, in fact, thanks to India, that I reconnected with my Ayurvedic roots. So Ayurveda, it's a traditional Indian health system. I started to have Ayurvedic bodywork treatments in India, and it was almost like a rebirth, Elaine. It was really amazing. It was the treatments just connected me to a part of myself that I hadn't felt for so long. I had in one treatment, I had such an energetic transformation that I wanted to learn more. So that's really where this shift took place. I then decided to take time off, and I started to study Ayurveda professionally. And that's really, it was that journey that's taken me to where I am today. But it's amazing because I feel in life we are, it's one of the things I've learned over all these years is that it's when we let life unfold, we're much more open to the opportunities that come our way. And I think if I'd carried on being that busy bee, not really paying attention to my physical health and also my emotional health, I wouldn't have recognized that actually I had this you know, this deep connection to this beautiful health system, but also that's where my recovery was. And what's really interesting is actually we have a lineage in my family. My grandfather was an Ayurvedic doctor. He had a clinic in the north, in the Punjab. And having now trained as a practitioner, my training has continued over the years. I've been able to reconnect with also that side of my family life and learn more about his practice and actually, you know, how he looked after his patients. So one of the things that I'm really passionate about is helping people uh, improve their mental health and well-being, and move away from popping pills, actually. You know, so that's something I've sort of, I'm a bit of a crusader with that. There's many things that we can actually do ourselves, and with the Ayurveda system, it's very much prevention is better than cures. That actually, when we start to integrate some of the tools and the techniques, there's many things that we can do for ourselves that maybe, you know, we're not so familiar with. So that's where I am today.
Wonderful, and there's lots to unpick on that. What you just said. The thing, the last thing you said about prevention and Ayurveda being a preventative therapy. So many people. Yes. In fact, I just wrote about it yesterday. There was a post on Facebook about planting seeds. You know, not everybody's ready to hear your message, but there's no harm in planting seeds. And I commented back something like, I'm planting seeds all the time, but sadly not everybody waters themselves.
Absolutely. And, I'm absolutely with you there. We can plant seeds. We can, you know, you have such a fantastic platform. You have your radio show, you have your wellbeing retreats, you write, you know, when you develop that sort of platform, you know, it enables you to have a voice, to plant seeds and empower others with some of the things that you've learned. So that's the same with me, you know, but it's not always the case. I might speak to someone, I've spoken to people in the past, and it might be 5-6 years, you know, before they actually engage in maybe, you know, maybe the idea or the concept that I shared with them. And I really believe that's part of life. It's something we can't push. Sometimes we need certain things to happen in our life in order for us to consider that we have other options to our health. And you know, if we take a very purist approach and we really kind of push these messages onto people, actually I think you can push people away, because you lose the joy, you lose the fun, you lose the compassion and the kindness in actually wanting to serve. You know, it then ends up sort of working in a negative rather than a positive. So definitely we can plant the seeds, but you know, watering them depends on its timing, it's where we're at in our life, it's how we're looking at things at that time as well. It may be that those plants are watered much more later.
Yes.
You know, and that's all part of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Not everybody's ready to hear our message when we meet them. But if we just, you know, give them a little droplet and a bit of insight, and then they can go away. And it's interesting you say 5 or 6 years. With me, it seems to be 2 to 4 years that people come back and they go, oh, do you remember we met at so and so and you said this, that, and the other, and now I really need to know about it. Can you teach me? So yeah, interesting. Timing is really, really important. So you had this most amazing life before you were reintroduced to Ayurveda. So when you were interviewing these entrepreneurs, prime ministers, all these fancy people, what kind of topics were you talking to them about?
So, well, I was writing business reports on different countries. So it was a macro overview of what were, you know, the industries that were doing well. It was a flavour of actually what was happening within the country on a business level. So these companies, they were, you know, they're multinational companies. They're produced, and it was all industries. So really, I was giving an overview on what was happening from an industry perspective. in the country at that time. So I probably interview in a project. I probably interview close to 80 different CEOs, and then from that consolidate the interviews into actually an overview that gave a very good, clear point of view of really what was happening. Where industries were going, how the country was doing, what the future looked like, what the opportunities were. And it was very dynamic. So, I look back at that time and I do think, now I'm a practitioner, I'm also a business owner. It was almost like a grounding for me in that sense, because, I spent 4 years listening to these people tell me their secrets and, not just what was motivating them, but also, the tools and the techniques that were helping their services grow. And I was very motivated by that work. I really did enjoy it, and it was very interesting learning about all these different industries. So it might be that in Italy we met with many wine companies and food companies. So by the end of that project, I could I was sort of pretty well versed into choosing good wine. And then in India we were the focus was very much on the automotive industry and also the call centers. So it was kind of like a deep dive into these different sectors that otherwise I would have no knowledge of what was going on in these areas. So it was very, in that sense, it was, like I say, it was a macro overview. Whereas my life now is very different, because now I'm the operator of a wellness center. I'm helping clients using the principles of Ayurveda with their mental health and their well-being. So I'm working on a one-to-one level with people and assisting them in that way. And but in essence, some of the skills are quite transferable, because in both aspects, I'm building a sense of I'd say belonging and self-worth, whether it was for my interviewee and being able to place actually the work that they were doing within the greater parameters of industry, or whether I'm working with an individual. It's still an opportunity to really support others. It's just I'm doing it in a different way now. I'm still building relationships. It's still important to build closer relationships with individuals, also networks. All of these things are really important. So it's interesting, isn't it, Elaine, how anything we do in life, it's never redundant. It comes alive in a different way. As we ourselves journey through life, as we evolve, and we find that actually the way we are showing up, the way I'm showing up now is different to how it was 15 years ago. So
Yeah,
I think that's both,
it is really interesting, and nothing is ever wasted, as you say, the transferable skills. I'm using information that I learnt, I don't know, 35 years ago. I'm now using it on a project I'm doing in Portugal. So whoever
yes,
thought, nothing is ever wasted, nothing. And the knowledge that we gain along the way, as you say,
yes,
what you're still helping people, but you're doing it in a different way. So all these fascinating people that you met, was there anything
yes.
that stood out to you about the personalities or the behaviours of these people?
Yeah, I mean, in Ayurveda, we have a diagnostic. There's a diagnostic tool. There's a diagnostic aspect to it. So Ayurveda is it's very much focused on the mind-body connection. And one of the first things I'll do, when I work with a client, is I'll have a look at what body type they are. And in Ayurveda, we've got three. So we've got the three body types are Vata. Vata means what moves, Pitta means what cooks, and then Kapha means what sticks. So we've got these three very specific body types. Many of us are a mix. We're a duodosha. Some of us are particularly specifically one, and some of us are tridoshic. And actually, when I look back to this time when I was interviewing these MDs, these CEOs, these people in public life, there was, if now I can relate it, there was a lot of pitta energy. So pitta energy is very much about, if you imagine the fire in the body, there's a lot of fire in the body. So it's very transformative. It's a cooking energy. So they're great leaders. These individuals are able to drive big projects forward, and the fire, is stoking them all the time. So they have that energy, they have that drive. It's just naturally there because of their constitution. So, at that time, I wouldn't have had that information, but certainly if I look back, I can completely place that, there was a very strong kind of, pitta constitution throughout that. But also there was a lot of kapha constitution, because kapha is more a sticking energy, it's a grounded energy, it's more earth. And many of the individuals I interviewed also had, they had that energy about them as well, probably in lesser form, but it was certainly there. And then they had their creative departments, and that's where you'd find the Barter energy. So these are the individuals that are creating the concepts and, putting the ideas together. But the actual executives that I was interviewing, it was this very strong drive in them. But also what I noticed was, though they, and this is now I look back and I think, we have these times in our lives where maybe there is an attraction to consumption. There is an attraction to having stuff. When you're interviewing people of that level of success, there's a lot of stuff around them. They've got a grand office, they've got all the trimmings that come with that successful life. And I also related to that because I was living in fabulous hotels. I was able to enjoy all the pleasures that come with living that type of life. However, I remember, I started to feel less satisfied as time went on. And that's also when I spent time in India, I was able to reflect more so, and I actually started to appreciate living simply more so, consuming less. And so I was moving away from more of this kind of consumer-driven society, and actually understanding that, reflecting on myself, that the things that actually make me happy, I hadn't been pursuing them, in the way that I should, having more connection to my family, enjoying more time in nature, having fewer resources. So God, it's a great question, Elaine. So on the one hand, there's this dynamic energy about these individuals, it's a driving force, and when you're around them, it's very exciting. But in the same breath, I did actually start to question, gosh, sort of later on in that work, is this genuinely sort of, making them feel good? What is it that's internally ticking their boxes? What's their health like? So I started to really sort of, these different feelings started to come up in me as time went on. That enabled me to reflect on my own life. And when I look back now, and also, now with as somebody now I'm in my mid-40s, we can look back and actually, with the understanding and the hindsight, that actually the things that lead to inner peace, that lead to to more harmony, actually are very simple. Actually, we don't need that much to have good health, to feel that we belong, to have a strong sense of self-worth. it is a balance, you know, it is a balance. There's you know, I'm not suggesting anyone doesn't live the life that they have set, you know, that they've set out to want to build. But I think there's a balance, and that was one of the big things that I learned through that process, and that certainly helped me.
And
Yeah,
it's interesting that you're at your mid-40s, you said, so that's a great age, because you've got all the life experience that you've had, and you've still got many years ahead to make a difference, to not only to yourself but to so many people that you come into contact with. I think it's great. It's a great age that you've kind of woken up to all of this and had such a lovely experience.
Yeah, and I think that's absolutely what it is, isn't it, Elaine? That's such a lovely word, awakening. You know, the awakening to ourselves, the awakening to relationships, the awakening to everyday life, the awakening to even having the strength to change direction, which you have done yourself. You know, I mean, you know, you are a prime example of somebody that's lived, I think, have you had, is it 3 careers, Elaine? Well, how would you describe it yourself?
I don't describe myself as ever having a career, because I've just, life just kind of happened. My life has been sort of very dynamic, and I say I've reinvented myself more times than I can shake a stick at, because I just,
amazing.
And I also say I've never done a day's work in my life. I've always enjoyed what I do, and I think that's the key. If you enjoy what you do, like you were enjoying your lifestyle and you know, all the fantastic things you were doing, until it got to the point where things weren't quite right, but you took up, you looked up and took notice, and then you changed it. And that's what I've done my whole life. I've always enjoyed myself. So I say I've never done a day's work in my life, because I've had fun my whole time, and fingers crossed I've still got time to make a difference. I want to pick up on what you were talking about, the personalities with these high flyers, because I've done the same thing over the years. One of the things I've done is I got trained over 20 years ago in behavioural profiling. I was managing a team of over 220 staff in a big city role that I had, and I knew I could have done a better job to support these people had I understood behaviour better. So I got myself trained, and for 20 plus years now I've been become an expert in the DISC model of behavioural profiling. And what you were saying about the Ayurveda, the Pitta and the Kapha styles, both of those come across. I've interviewed and supported many business leaders over the years, and they are always two styles of behaviour. They're in the DISC mnemonic, DISC, which is dominance, influence, steadiness, and compliance. It's one of the best used profile tools in the world. So if listeners want to have a look at it, DISC, DISC personality profiling. So in my experience, the leaders were either DC, so that's dominant and compliant, so which is the equivalent of the Pitta and the Kapha, or they were DI, and depending upon the industry sector, quite often, so head teachers, for example, are very often D and C, or the Pitta and Kapha, so that's very grounded, procedurally driven, and lots of energy. So basically, this is what you do, this is how you do it, this is my way or it's the highway, that kind of behaviour, which is a leadership style. Or the other style is D&I, and excuse me, which is my style. So very outgoing, energetic, full of fun, a bit creative, but kind of just full of life, but also with that high D. So and that's a more popular leadership style. The other is a common but not so popular. So depending upon industry sector, quite often, as to whether you'd have people or kind of task related people. So it's interesting. Rather, I'd never thought about the difference with Ayurveda and the DISC, but there definitely is a correlation. So I never know what's going to crop up in these interviews, so that's a fascinating one for me. I'm going to look a bit.
Oh, that's really interesting. No, I really like that. I'm gonna have a look at that. I think there is, it's interesting, isn't it, when you see an overlap between different systems, and also any tool that helps us understand ourselves better, or the people, our teams better, is of benefit. I mean, with the DISC system, what's the focus of it? Like you say, is it for it's for behavioural management, is that right?
That's right. Yeah. Well, I used it for years in corporate settings. So after I finished corporate work, I became a consultant and did a lot of turnarounds, and but I concentrated on team dynamics, because in my view, if you have a team that works well together, they will resolve any problem you've got in the business. So the team is the important aspect. But it's about balance. You mentioned balance earlier on, and it's about balance. So it's looking, we've all got DISC in us, as we've all got
Yeah.
Vata, Pitta and Kapha in us, but it's the different strengths of each of those aspects that makes a difference. But it's getting the balance. And when you have a balance in your life, and I've created my Perfect 10 wellness program all around balance, and one of them in that is the behavioural profiling. So looking at what the behaviour style is of your life, basically your innate behaviours, which so were part of your questionnaire when you take on clients, looking at their body type. That then tells you straight away, the likelihood of what they're going to be answering in the rest of the questions, because their body type would be leading their behaviours, wouldn't it? Their lifestyle.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And also, it also then links to the kind of recommendations that I would give. So, all the tools and the techniques that we work with in the Ayurvedic system to support general health and well-being, they're so specific. So, in order to help somebody improve, a Pitta person to help improve balance, I may recommend certain techniques that would be different to somebody who had more of a Vata constitution. So it helps build a much more bespoke approach. It's very individual, and like you say, it's none of us are the same. None of us is the same. So any support that I would give to someone, has to be completely aligned to how they show up, and that's where the diagnosis really comes in. It gives me the information I need to really put that program together, in the best way possible for that person. And I think also these are all systems that just, I think it's very positive to have content and have these kind of discussions, because it does just give us the words that help us sort of understand maybe some of the ways that we feel or think, or it gives us a structure, and from that structure we can look more specifically at actually what potentially can suit us better as well. So that I really like all of that. It kind of all flows through, really. It's solution based, which sounds a bit more of a corporate word, but these are, it's an ancient system. It's, Ayurveda is 5,000 years old. So though it's solution based, everything that was written down all those years ago is still relevant today, if not more so, because life's sped up so much more.
Mm-hmm.
And more people are needing to find ways to download, all the stuff that's going on inside them.
Yeah. It is a very excuse me, very fast-paced world that we live in, and there's so much stresses. I mean, kids now are having yoga sessions and mindfulness in infant school. I mean, whatever is the world coming to type of thing, but that's the pace that the pressure is on, even on the little ones, and teaching
the pressures that's right. Yeah, and teaching them how to have a daily routine, how to I think I did see one school, I'm not sure which country it was in, but they start, rather than with an assembly, they start with mindfulness practice in the morning. So they've built it into their daily school schedule. It's it's encouraging children to use these techniques if they feel stressed, or just in sense to improve their mental well-being. But yeah, that's where we're at now. I mean, was it like that at school when you were at school, Elaine?
Certainly not. We had strict teachers. We had over 40 of us in the class. In fact, I found, because I've moved recently, I found a school report. There were 42 of us in our class. We had one teacher, no teaching assistants. We had our own space though. We had our own desk with a flip-up lid and ink wells and all that sort of old-fashioned stuff now. But we had our own space, so we kind of belonged. We had a slot. Now kids walk around with their knapsacks on their back and end up with back problems and neck problems and so on. But we didn't dare speak out of turn. The discipline was there, which I think has now gone out the window. But let's not get on to that subject. It makes me very cross. Ayurveda, you've mentioned it's an ancient system that went back, goes back 5,000 years. So what are the origins of it? How did it kind of start off, and what?
Yeah, so its roots are in India, and at the time, we would look at these individuals. Well, we use the word sages, or visionaries, but they're practitioners who had a desire to want to find better health and well-being procedures for the everyday man. So they were in service to humanity. And the story says that actually 52 of these Indian sages traveled up to the Himalayas, to Rishikesh, all together, and they actually meditated together. So it was a very powerful meditation. What we do know now is when we come together as a group to meditate, actually we have an energy exchange. So actually we start to share all of that positive energy. And also it helps us clear our systems. So not only do we get clarity through the body, we also have a greater sense of purpose together as a group. And legend says that actually, some say that the information of Ayurveda, the whole health system, started to be downloaded to these individuals. But what we do know is actually when we are able to peel away the layers, when we have complete clarity of body and mind, much of the information, we have all of this information within us. The knowledge is there, the wisdom is there. And what I would say is that actually what happened was, these individuals then, these health practitioners then started to share the information. So one would be talking about certain bodywork techniques. We in Ayurveda we have there's a map of vital points all over the body that we can massage, which activate energy within the body. So you would have some of those practitioners that would be able to detail information about that. Then you'd have some practitioners sharing information on the medicinal herbs that maybe was growing in the area. So anyway, as a collective force, all this information started to get shared, and then it started to be passed down to individuals in society. And Ayurveda as a system, it spread all over India quite quickly. So it was adopted by, and India, it's a huge country. There's close to 1 billion people there now. But anyway, this information started to get shared. Then it started traveling to neighboring countries. So you'll also find even today, in Ayurveda is very prevalent in Sri Lanka, in Nepal, in certain other countries it's been adopted. But also what you'll find is Ayurveda as a whole health system, there's actually 6 specific areas to it. So it's almost like 6 systems wrapped up into one. So one of the first things I would do as a practitioner is if somebody came to me and they were feeling out of sorts and I was there to help them, whether it be with their mental well-being, whether it be with their emotional well-being, whether it be with a general sense of overall health and balance, one of the first things is I'd look at what they're eating. So there are certain food groups that are suitable for some individuals and not for others. And I have had clients that have just said, even just following the diet principles has completely changed their life. They have more energy, their skin looks better, they've got more vitality. So that's one of the first areas we look at. Then we start to, then I start to have a look at what else do they need. how else are they being challenged? How am I going to help them achieve better balance? How am I going to help them, change the negative to the positive if they're having challenging experiences? So then we start to look at, so then you can start to look at the herbal, well, actually meditation and yoga are two of the really core tools that we use to help positively change mood. What I'm seeing more of now, certainly in my clinic, is people who actually, even people sort of later on in their life and early retirement who are going through a transition, and they're a little bit sort of, this transition is causing challenges. It's causing them to not be so sort of positive about things. They're feeling pain in their body. So actually, putting the yoga techniques together, the mindfulness and meditation techniques together that are most suitable for them, that's another way of helping them. Then we also have, we don't use any chemical tablets. So if we're going to go down the route of giving medicine, all of the medicine is natural. So we're working with medicinal herbs. There are certain decoctions in Ayurveda that are really powerful. So some of the common formulas that you can purchase, anyone can purchase, they don't have to go through a practitioner. So there's a formula called Shatavari, which is a really beautiful formula for women who are having pain in their body and also going through painful menopause. So it's a formulation that really, it's got herbs that really support your body when it's going through that change. There's another common formula called Triphala, which has got 3 very powerful Ayurvedic herbs in it, which is fantastic for a detox. So then there are certain formulas that we can look at and recommend. There's certain liquids as well that would fall into that category. Then another area, 4th area, is spiritual practices or philosophy. So it's Ayurveda is not a religion. It's a practice. It's a spiritual practice of connecting mind, body, and soul. And so there are just some roadmaps, wisdom. I kind of call it wisdom of the way. Some just really nice thoughts that help us just think a little bit more about life and the bigger perspective of life, and again help bring in positive change into our moods, and help our bodies and our brains sort of alleviate tension or anxiety or stress that we may be causing because maybe we can't connect with those deeper philosophical concepts. So sometimes it's sometimes that information can help. It's one of those things that I often say to clients. I say it's like a deep dive. Once you've got the information, it's there forever. It'll be there to support you. It's not something you need to harp on every day, but once you've got it, you can refer to it whenever you need it. Then there's another area which is called Panchakarma, and that's the classical way to detox the body. So that's when somebody needs much more of a deep dive into their constitution. So it may be that you want that you need more of a deeper cleanse, and that's not just physical, that can also be emotional as well. If somebody's being very challenged and they almost have lost the joy, the happiness, then they're it can be a culmination of things. So Panchakarma, it's not a light step. It's for at least 10 days. We would do a deep dive using a number of those different tools to really help. I would really help the person. It's about connecting to themselves again and also cleansing the body so that you're coming, it's almost like fixing a broken bike, or a broken garden gate, and being able to cleanse the body so that you can get back into that place again where you feel you're vibrant, you're healthy, and you can start to move forward. So Ayurveda, it's a mix of tools and techniques, and it's a very powerful system. because it may be that that only one of those areas is required. It may be that actually a couple of those areas is required. That what it is it's a long-term health solution. So you're not going to get a fix within a week. You know, it's a commitment. You're going to need at least 6 months to see changes, really at whichever aspect you know you're following. But what you have is it's absolutely long term. It's preventative, and that's what I really love about it. You know, there's no side effects. It becomes part of your life. It's almost like a ritual, a routine that you can adopt at any time, and you know it's free of all toxins. There's no toxins. Um, and yeah, it certainly helped me. So you know that I'm still, after all these years, it's what motivates me to continue to spread the message.
Wonderful, thank you for the explanation. It's brilliant. And I was first introduced to Ayurveda through the work of Deepak Chopra about 30 years ago, maybe longer than that, 40 years ago, perhaps, a long time ago, when he was kind of first getting popular. And as you say, it's a way of life, isn't it? It's not just you know, for Christmas, as they say, with the animals. It's a way of life that you learn for life.
Yeah, that's right. Absolutely, it's a way of life. It's not, you don't just dip your toe into it. You don't just go, oh, I'm just going to go and buy a package of Ayurveda. You know, it's a process. It's a self-care program. It helps us embrace self-care in a way, you know, in a beautiful way, because you know, there's even, you know, again, depending on who I'm working with, but there's different times of the day that are suitable to certain activity. It helps us optimize every aspect of our lives, because it helps us really appreciate not just what's going on within ourselves, but also the environment that we live in, you know, the kind of language that maybe we're you know that we're using. It's very subtle, so it really does optimize, you know, all these different aspects of how we live, how we're experiencing life. It's all about positive mindset, and I know that's also something you speak very you know, very strongly about, Elaine, how that helps us see the journey unfold in our body, in our health, and how that supports us every step of the way as well. And doctor friends of mine, you know, many of them have always said, you know, those that have a positive mindset are more likely to heal, you know, more quicker than those that don't. So, you know, this is a philosophy that Ayurveda has had written down for 5,000 years, that actually how, you know, a positive mindset can really make an impact to our general self-awareness and our health, and also how we stay motivated. So there's all these different aspects to it, but absolutely it's a lifestyle. It is a lifestyle.
And you teach practitioners, don't you? I believe. Let's talk
Yes,
about that.
that's
Your
right.
teaching.
Yeah, so the teaching, I started the academy in 2005. So through the academy, I've trained 1,000 therapist practitioners now. So the therapists are trained in, so I guess I've become known as an expert in the body work. So working very much energetically on the body. And so my training programs are very much connected to that. So we've got a 5-day program where we accredit therapists in specific Ayurvedic bodywork. And then also I have a year-long program in mindfulness meditation. So that's a diploma for practitioners who want to support clients either in one-to-ones or run group sessions as well. The two interlink very well, because actually when you combine mindfulness and meditation techniques with bodywork, you get a very it's a very strong way to actually work with the body. It shifts energy at very deep level. So if that's something that somebody needs at that time, actually putting those two tools together works really fantastically. And the energy flows more so through the body. So so it's got a huge capacity to help heal the body, It's a very, very beautiful way to work. So yeah, the academy. So we run 2 of the 5-day courses every year, and then the diploma runs throughout the year. You know, because that's run by Skype, and then also a retreat. And I love that side of things, because actually with the academy, with the training, it's a way to pass the techniques on so that more people can be supported and helped. Um, I look back now, Elaine, and I actually, when I say that word, 1,000 students, I can't believe it. You know, the first 3 years, I didn't have any experience of marketing to this group of people, and what I did was I joined forces with an organisation called the Federation of Holistic Therapists, because I thought, well, actually, the practitioners who are going to be aligned to this system or be excited to actually pass it on, they are holistic therapists. I need to find them. So actually, through the Federation of Holistic Therapists, I went around the country and I gave talks to all their individual groups, and that's really where word started to get out. So, you know, I think every step of the way in our work, in what we do, we, you know, opportunities are all around us, and being able to hear, being able to see what's going on around us and develop those relationships is certainly, that's what's been important in how I've taken my practice and my business out, and the academy. So yeah, it's all great.
And you've got this lovely new clinic now, haven't you, at in the grounds of Belvoir Castle? So tell us about that.
Yes. Yes, so that was it's a wellness and treatment centre which I opened in August last year. So what we do from there is, so we are educating people on the Ayurvedic health system in a very simple way. So we have a yoga and a meditation studio, and we have a timetable. So we run classes all week. We have a clinic, so my clinic runs from there, and also we work with a medical herbalist called Victoria Ward, so she runs her clinic from there as well. We have 2 beautiful treatment rooms, which is where we offer all the body work, so again, working on all the energy centers and supporting clients in that way. And then we also have a shop. So the other business you did mention at the beginning, the other business that I have developed over 10 years is we manufacture our own skincare. So we do sell our skincare through the shop, and also it gives people an opportunity to come in and try. We have samples out so they can see what skin type they are, what's more suitable for them. They can learn more about the ingredients, you know, also how to use some of the products as well. In Ayurveda, we talk about oiling the body, so we talk about oilation and actually how important self-massage is. But that's actually quite a foreign concept in the West, where we moisturize with a lotion. So just one of the things we do in the shop is we actually show people how to massage with an oil, you know, talk them through actually the benefits of that, because oil goes deeper into the skin's tissues. So it's really fantastic when if you're at a certain age and you need to moisturize more deeply now, and it's great for joints. So we're able to share that, and then we also do collaborate with other teachers. So we've had some fantastic teachers come to the centre and run workshops with us. Once a month we do a yoga restorative session and sound healing session with a lady called Julie Gundry. So actually next Wednesday is our next session with her. It's a 2-hour session, very powerful. So she uses gongs and bells and chimes to create a vibration in the body, to help physically and emotionally shift energy. We work with another fantastic yoga teacher who's based in Nottingham called Pam Scott, and once a month she does a Sunday self-care session, which is deeply restorative. She teaches a type of yoga called yin yang yoga. So it's not hardcore. You're not doing lots of what we say in yoga, sun salutations, but what you are doing is moving your body into the yoga bolsters, getting deeply relaxed. So again, it's a way to really reduce stress and tension in the body. We're working with another lady who's a colour stylist. So on I believe that's the 10th of March. She's going to come in and do a really nice workshop on actually how color styling, how, you know, that supports our outer well-being, and how certain colors suit us better than others. So she's taking people through that. And then we're also working with a feng shui lady, Danusha, who's going to talk about actually, you know, the placement of furniture in a home, and actually how energetically, you know, we can have a better experience with furniture placed in a certain way. So again, it's just giving people ideas, you know, overall sense of things that they can do for themselves, and also enjoyable. You know, the events that we run should be, they're enjoyable, they're light-hearted. You know, the teachers are so passionate about what they do. So our intention is really, it is a healing space, you know, is to present these ideas to all our customers, and really help support, encourage and motivate them, to you know, to try and bring in some of these concepts, and hopefully pass it on to their families and friends too.
Brilliant, a lovely mixture. And I've been to your centre, it's absolutely delightful. So how do people get hold of you, Sunita?
Right, so the core website is Tridosha, www.try-dosha.co.uk. That will also link you to our centre website, which is www.sunitapassi.com. We've got both platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, and we also have a newsletter. If you sign up for our newsletter, we send the newsletter out once a month, and we put lots of great content in there. So we always have 3 blogs that gives you more information about all the different things that I've spoken about today. And so that's all the different ways that you can get in touch with us. And really, through the Sunita Passi platform, we want to engage people to have a conversation with us, ask questions, you know, just however we can help and support. That's what we're there for. So you know, please do get in touch, please do follow us, and please do get in touch if you've got a question.
Fantastic. So that's Sunita Passi, and try-dosha.co.uk. Fantastic. So I asked guests to select 2 songs. You've chosen Sweet Dreams by Eurythmics and Windmills in Your Mind by Alison Moyet. Why did you choose those briefly, Sunita?
Well, I'm really into music. I lived in London for many years, and I actually had singing lessons, Elaine. So for 4 years, I had singing lessons. And when I had singing lessons, at the end of every year, we would put a show together, and we'd always have a solo song that we were required to learn and sing. And these were 2 songs that for me were very emotive. These 2 singers I really admire. So they became popular at a time when I was, when I was in my teenage years, and I wasn't in the happiest place. And I really just connected with their resonance, with their voices. I mean, I love Annie Lennox's voice. I love Alison Moyet's voice. And there again, you know, their words just had deep meaning to me. So whenever I want to connect with that side of me, or they're just very powerful songs. Yeah, they mean a lot. The words mean a lot, and they've helped me in my life, actually. You know, every step along the way. And also 2 very powerful singers. You know, they've got these deep tonal voices that you know, I just have to hear them speak, actually, and I feel a chill down my spine. So yeah, they've helped me in life, and it's almost as if I can hear my past when I listen to these 2 songs, and can see how far I've come personally in myself, and then also in the work that I do.
Wonderful. They're also 2 of my favourite singers as well, so I'm delighted you've chosen them. So thank you so much for spending time with us today. For listeners, remember that this programme is going to be repeated on Saturday 11 o'clock. Please also join my newsletter. I often forget to talk about this. So my website is www.perfect health.co.uk. And also remember that if you know anybody or yourself with a cancer diagnosis, either current or previous, I do offer my wellness hub free of charge to anybody with that situation to deal with. Even if you've got over cancer, talking about life going forward, how to be preventative, like Sunita was talking about, I would highly recommend looking at the Ayurvedic way of life, because it really is calming, soothing. The food, the lifestyle, the mindfulness, the whole bit, as Sunita has explained, is fantastic. So perfect-health.co.uk. Listen again on 11 o'clock on Saturday, or via the website on the radio page. So Sunita, thank you so much, and we're going to play out with your 2 songs.
Thank you, Elaine. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Take care. Bye.
Bye bye.